and welcome to Board with Video Games, the gaming podcast that strives for the right balance of coverage for games you play on your table and on your television. We're a proud member of the PSVG Podcast Network and thrilled to be part of the Dice Tower Network as well. I am one of your hosts, Kyle Hyman, and joining me on this co-op adventure, the guy with enough confidence to wear a tank top, Josh Borboni. How are you doing this evening?
Hey, I am wearing a sleeveless shirt. Does that count? It's the same thing, right?
I think close
Just
enough,
more coverage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's confidence, but it's comfort over confidence.
Well, you know what? Even if I feel that they would make me comfortable, I feel too uncomfortable to ever wear them. So, you know.
That's okay. I was thinking about getting a thong for the summer this year at the beach and see what my wife thought about it. Just not tell her.
And how do you anticipate that conversation would go, Josh?
I don't know that there'd be much of a conversation. But I like anything for the bit, right? Anything for a gag. Oh, okay. That's a poor choice of words. Anything for the joke.
Well, you know, you have to be committed to the joke. So I do appreciate that level of commitment that you got going on.
As long as I laugh, it's a success. And I don't hurt or insult somebody.
Well, hey, you know what? I am very glad then that you feel confident that you would not hurt or insult anyone by that choice.
God, I hope not. That would
I don't know if I would feel that confident if I were to do that.
Shit. Yeah.
But
yeah.
Gotcha. Well, Josh, you know, here we are, end of May. I don't know how we got to May already.
Right.
But it's, you know, here we're recording on Memorial Day. You know, did you have Memorial Day off? Did you get today off?
I did have today off, yeah. Yep.
Nice. Did you do anything either an observation of or because of your extra time off with Memorial Day that was exciting or fun?
Nope. Nope, not at all. We didn't do anything today. Actually, we did some cleaning because it was overdue, you know.
Yeah.
But all three of us were home, so it was just kind of a laid back-ish day. And I went out to grab lunch, and I realized everyone was out doing that today, which is odd. I've usually you go to the restaurant to pick up food on Memorial Day, expect it to be dead. But the weather wasn't as good today as it was yesterday, so everyone probably was like, "Oh, we're gonna, you know, call it a day."
Gotcha. Well, hey, you know, as we always like to check in when we get to our monthly podcast. How are you, sir? How is life going? How is the world in the Northeast treating you?
How I knew you were gonna ask because you always do. I didn't really know how I was going to answer. So I don't know. It's been bad. It's been a bad month.
I'm sorry to hear that, sir.
It's okay. Yeah, it's just been rough. I've been dealing with a lot of depression this month with my dad having some health issues, and it's really brought life and death to the forefront of my mind, and I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. So that's been pretty rough. I've had to cancel a lot of friend hangouts because I just was consumed in it. So it was rough. It was a rough start, and also at work, our new boss quit after being at work for a month, so we lost a lot of help. And then last Thursday, our new guy quit, just walked out. So we're down 2 people again. We're doing a huge move where we're bringing in a vertical lift machine and redoing all the racks in a functioning manufacturing warehouse. That now we have to do. We had a surprise FDA audit pop up last week. Which luckily they canceled, but we have a regular audit this week.
Gotcha. Okay.
So yeah, it's been rough. It's been a rough time. So I took a lot of time to myself. I went to bed early a lot this month just to try to kind of use that as trying to get more sleep I don't know if healing is the right word, but
sure.
Trying to manifest feeling better, but really it was probably just me being depressed and needing more sleep. But either way, I'm a little bit more optimistic now with everything that's going on, because why, wallow for months? What's that going to solve? I missed out on social gatherings and just you can't avoid these things because they're going to be right in front of my face sooner than later.
Well, it is important to take care of yourself. So I don't think there's anything wrong necessarily with, taking some extra time to go ahead and, get some extra sleep and things like that. That's important. There's nothing wrong with that by any means. But you are right that, eventually, ideally, that's not, every night, all the time, forever. Right. Like, so for sure. But, I'm glad to hear that things at least seem like they're turning the corner slightly. Granted, your FDA inspection, who knows? But that doesn't sound like that's fun at all. So
I can't control what they find, and I can. Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. I don't know.
Yeah,
I just know it's not my fault if something goes wrong. It's not. It's not me.
That's good. At least
I'm okay. This week's audit, which is the different audit, that could fall on me. So
okay, gotcha.
I'm not off the hook yet. How about you? How was your May?
Yeah, it was fine. I don't know. Things are obviously relative. It was annoying. My, quote unquote gaming PC, which has like worked and then crapped out and then crapped out again. So I am now back on my old, not great computer. But I'm at least still able to podcast, but it basically can play almost nothing as far as games go. So that's really frustrating. I don't really know what the fix is for that computer. I've done everything that I think I am capable of doing, because I am definitely not a whiz when it comes to computers and the inner workings of. I felt like it was a software problem. I can't imagine it still is now that this has happened multiple times.
Right.
So it seems like it's a hardware problem. I just don't really even know how to start diagnosing it when you're like, hey, my computer literally does not turn on. Like, I shouldn't say that. It turns on, but as soon as it tries to boot into Windows, it just like hard freezes every single time.
Ugh.
So it's like, that's a really specific description of like what possibly could be wrong there, right? Like, so, and when I fixed it last time, I just had done a complete fresh Windows install from a USB, and it worked great for months. And then literally like 2 weeks ago, I don't remember what I was doing. I was doing homework or something, and I had just finished up what I was doing. I had like just sent an email, and then all of a sudden my computer froze. And last time that it did this, because it kind of did the same thing, it would like reboot and then it would work for like 3 or 4 days, and then it would happen again. And then it got to the point where it's like 2 days and it would happen again, and then 1 day and it would happen again. This time, like, it won't even, like, now after the one time it happened, it will just not even like fully, like, it will sometimes like get into Windows where it's like starting to open like the auto start programs, but it immediately freezes. Like, it tries to load Discord or Steam and immediately locks up. So it's like, well, one day when I have time, I will see if I can figure out what's going on with it. But in the meantime, for what I really need to do, homework, podcast, this computer works and does that. So we will continue with this computer for a while until there's been some PC games I wanted to play too, which is why I'm really annoyed with it.
Yeah.
But yeah. So anyway, so that's been annoying. And then, like I said, now my mouse doesn't work. So I was complaining about four-star podcasting. My mouse doesn't scroll. Who knew I scrolled so much? This is so annoying. But other than that, I mean, I guess things are okay. Like, I can't think of anything super good or super bad, which must mean things are fine, I guess.
Right.
Since for May. So I'll go with things are fine, I guess.
Sure.
But hey, summer's right around the corner, which means hopefully things will get way better. I don't know. We'll see. I have had a surprising amount of time to game, but not in the way that I thought I would, which has been kind of fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, otherwise I think things are pretty chill, pretty kosher, if you would. So yeah. But hey,
good.
Should we get into the show, sir?
Hey, sure. Why not?
Let's do it. All right. So thanks so much for joining us this month, everyone. As always, if you have any feedback, questions, suggested topics, hit us up at Board with VG on Twitter, or check out all the awesome stuff over on the Instagram, also Board with VG. We are proud to be part of the Place of Video Games podcast family, and we encourage you to check out all of the shows like the PSVG podcast, the Nintendo Shack, PSXP. You never know when a new show might pop up, so be sure to stay tuned to all of your favorite PSVG podcasts to stay up to date. We're also a member of the Dice Tower Podcast Network, so if you enjoy our conversations about board games and would like to dive deeper into that world, we encourage you to check out the Dice Tower Podcast archive as well as all of the other members of the network. No matter what type of board games you enjoy, there's a podcast on the network that's right for you. With that, Josh, we have talked about, we're going to have a small change in format here, and I think we'll probably do this, for the next few months to see how this goes. Still going to talk about what we've been playing, but then rather than having a whole bunch of just news, we have basically 3-ish news stories for both board games and video games, but then we have kind of a more topic focus that we're going to cover in each of those areas as well. That isn't necessarily news related per se. So slightly small, just a small tweak to the show. When you go doing one show a month, some of the news gets super old that it really doesn't seem like it's even worth talking about anymore. But we do want to kind of hit on some of the bigger, higher level stories that have happened, kind of in each of the worlds. So we don't want to completely disregard it, but it's definitely gonna be a smaller part of the show. But still going to start with what we've been playing. So Josh, what have you been playing, sir?
Well, I've pretty much only been playing one thing. I didn't put on here. I have been going back and playing Minecraft Dungeons with my son a bunch, and he's now better, so it's not as frustrating. It's still frustrating because he just runs away and leaves you to die. But he's getting a little bit better. And I did try Animal Well, but very briefly because I just tried it enough to know
it's not for you.
No, thank you.
Yep. I assume that would be your response to that game. Yeah.
Which is fine, It looks really cool though. I really dig the style. It's a very cool looking game. So Hades 2. I'm about 30 hours of playtime in Hades 2 right now.
Nice.
I think I'm 26.7 or something like that. I looked at earlier. I won't spoil anything because it's early access. I have reached the limits of early access. I can say that.
Nice.
And they're very clear, hey, there's some parts where you come to a god and the art is very much now a placeholder art for some of them, which is fine. And then I've had a lot of people in our Discord and even on Reddit asking me about if they thought it's worth getting the early access or not. And I think it really just depends on your interest in the game. Because if you think for me, I'm a Hades super fan, right? So it's one of my favorite games. So I like doing this, continually playing and seeing what's going to change if and when that happens.
Right.
And if that's something that you're interested in, it's definitely worth it. If not, it can't hurt to wait, but you're going to wait for a year, 6 months, 6 to 12 months. But I can say one of the first things that changed right away, if anyone played the early access or the demo at all, was one of the things you get in the game. In the original Hades, you have the fishing pole, so you can fish, and you can do all these other things to collect resources. And in Hades 2, when it started, you also have these tools, but you could only take one with you on a run. So if you ran into other resource types that you wanted to get, you couldn't do that. You had to actively choose what you wanted to focus on. And the newest patch, which was last week, changed it. So as long as you have that tool unlocked and built, you can do it. So that was a huge change, right? Very helpful. Now you're not worried about losing out on supplies and items. So that was a good change. But yeah, you play as Melinoe or Melanoi. Their characters say it different. So some characters say her name one way, some characters say it the other way.
Do you think that's on purpose?
I think so, yeah. I think that covers the different aspects of the gods and things like that.
Okay.
But Melinoe, I think, is how it's said most common. And she's the son. She's the daughter of Hades, sister to Zagreus from the first one, and you're on a quest. I don't even want to say who the bad guy is, what the different levels are like. But I will say this. I like this more than Hades. This might be in my top 5 favorite games of all time. It is incredible. And I know recency bias, we'll see. But I just can't. I'm astounded at how much there is in this game just in early access. How, just like with Hades, like I have had so many conversations with people. They're always different, and it's always giving you new information. You might not have to use it for anything, but there's so much lore and information in this game.
Right.
The voice acting is incredible, just like the first one. The music is incredible as well. The combat is better than Hades. It just feels so much more fluid. And they've made some these just changes with the way you use your weapons, and now I want to say her name differently again. Mel is a sorceress, so she uses casting circles in the game as part of one of your moves, and that changes everything as well. And 25 hours in, I'm running into new characters that I haven't seen at all, which is very interesting. And there's something that they do that is so cool and so different from the first Hades that it's just there's actually a bunch of new things, but one of the things they added, this isn't a spoiler, I don't think, it's like runs where you're set up with a high gear set, and you can still get things for in-game, and while it is separate from the main quest, you can still interact with gods and still give them gifts and things like that.
Gotcha.
And it will reflect in the full game while you're doing it.
Okay.
But I can't think of the game. There's been some other games that have done that, like Metroidvania style, where it's like a set run that's apart from everything else, where you might have higher gear or certain gear that you can't change.
Right. Okay.
So they have something like that too. I'm just in love with it. It's just incredible. And it still boggles my mind that they can put this game out in early access the way it is, with so much time between now and the release,
right,
that I can enjoy it as much as I am. And I can't wait to see like what the next update brings, and I can't wait to compare what my experience is now to the final product. They also changed something that when I played Hades, I had this whole list on my phone of like, I still need to get this, like this blessing from Aphrodite to complete my board or whatever.
Right. Yep.
Now it's highlighted. So if you haven't gotten it yet, pick this boon, because I haven't gotten it yet. So it makes it easier to collect those things.
Nice.
And one of the interactions I had, I gave a character, why am I forgetting the name of the liquid, the nectar, as a gift. You can give them gifts. I'm blanking on the name, but I gave him the nectar, and the character's like, hey, thanks for this, but like, you're not doing this because there's a certain mission you have to complete. You're giving it because you like me, right? Not just to check off a box on your list. And then you're like, oh, yeah, that's totally what it is. I'm not trying to complete something. I'm just giving you a gift because you're fun. It's very cool. They really did make a lot of improvements on a game that I didn't think needed or could have improvements. So, I don't see it. I don't see myself slowing down, even though I have completed as far as I can get story-wise. There's still so much to do in the main game. And of course, just like for the first Hades, just beating the big bad once isn't enough.
So I have heard that there is more content in Hades 2 early access than there was content in Hades.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's accurate?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Yep. It's just so cool.
I'm really curious to see what, the quote unquote final version of this game is, since I feel like I've said pretty much that, this game is going to be under development through the end of the year and
Yeah.
that the full release won't be until next year.
Yep.
Can't even imagine like what this full release is going to be then.
Yeah, and they can add so much more if they want to, which I think is also super cool. Like there's room. Like when you finish what you finish, you get like a message just like in the demo.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, hey, you got to this point, but we're still working on the game and there'll be more to do in the future updates and stuff. So they're still planning on adding more. And I've played 30 hours of the game.
Right.
And yeah, it's great.
So you said that this is, potentially recency bias, but like top 5 game for you all time right now.
I think so, yeah.
We're obviously are working on our, for the year doing our top 10 games of all time that will, actually record that episode at the end of the year. But is there a scenario where Hades 1 and Hades 2 are on your list? Or would you combine them? Would you only include one? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't think I would include both. Ugh, that is a good question. In fact, I probably, because it's early access, I probably won't put it on our list this year.
Yeah.
Just because you never know, something crazy could happen and the game could be totally different. Like look at Skull and Bones. They could make it terrible and within a year. So I would, just to keep, like we've talked about, like Dave the Diver at the beginning of this year, kind of really being early access, so does it count? So that being said, I think I will leave it off that list for this year. But I mean, worst case, something happens, it's probably still in my top 10. So
okay,
even if something crazy happens.
Perfect.
It's just so good. It's so, my wife said to me today, I was like cooking dinner and had my Steam Deck in my hands, and she's like, are you ever going to put that down? And I was like, well, yeah, but I'm in the middle of a run. When I'm done, I'll put it down and finish cooking dinner. But yeah, it's so good. It's so good. Sorry, that's all I have to talk about, though.
That's okay. I'm really glad you're enjoying it so much. That's great to hear. So
thanks. It's brought me great joy this month.
Awesome. That's good. I'm glad to hear that. So, so I have a few more games to talk about than just one. That is for sure. Now, what is I didn't put on our list, but as a sad note, I guess. So there's one mobile game that I've been playing for many, many years. That's Disney Sorcerer's Arena, or DSA for short. They have announced they're shutting it down.
Oh no, really?
Yeah, and end of July. Yep, they're booting it. So that game is coming to an end, which I'm like, I feel kind of potentially slightly like happy about that. Yeah. I've thought about stopping playing multiple times, and I just never have because of this whole, like sunk time fallacy of like, oh, I put so much time into it. Like I really should just keep playing it. But now I'm not gonna have a choice. At the end of July, I'm gonna have to wrap it up. So, that is kind of just an interesting like love hate. Like it's just weird. I've never been in this situation where this game that I've played literally almost every day for years at this point.
Yeah.
It's just gonna go away.
Are you both still playing it, or?
Yeah, we both still play it.
Yeah.
So, and it was funny too because our clan, this announcement happened, and there kind of were like a couple days before the announcement happened, there were all these like rumors and kind of signs that something may be happening because like the monthly calendar didn't release on time, and like all these things that you're like, okay, these are usually pretty like clockworky, like something must be going on here, right? And then some people did a little bit of data mining and we're like, oh, it looks like there's some sort of announcement that's coming, and then the whole thing came out. But I was really surprised that like our clan, like 1 or 2 people stopped playing and that was it. Like everyone is still like, well, we're gonna do it to the end. Like we've already been playing it for so long, might as well ride this horse until you can't ride no more. But they shut off obviously all purchases, like all that stuff, so you can't buy anything anymore. And they did a whole bunch of like free calendars to help people like unlock like some of the more challenging characters to unlock and kind of all that good stuff. And so that's been kind of interesting because I've had like this boon now of like resources just like dumping all over me and like so I'm like leveling all these characters up that I didn't before. But I'm trying to decide like people in the clan are like moving to like Marvel Strike Force and like other games, and it's just like, man, I don't know if I want to restart this whole thing over again, right? Like maybe I'll just take this as my sign of like this was my mobile game that I played, and maybe I'll just move on from it and be good with it. So that was interesting. So DSA soon to be no more. I'm curious what they're going to do with the board game though, because there is a board game for it.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
And apparently it's a reasonably good board game. I don't own it. I never bought it. But apparently it's like not bad.
It reviews
Uh,
well. Yeah.
yeah. So I am curious if that's going to also be done now and they're not going to do any more expansions for that, or kind of where that's at. I'm not totally surprised by this. I kind of anticipated this might happen back when, because the company that makes the game was bought by EA like 2 years ago or a year ago. And then when EA, like in their most recent financials call, was like, hey, like we are getting away from licensed products. We're like stepping away. We're cutting like all of these things of like,
Yeah.
something. I'm like, oh man, this game is totally done. Like it's just like I was like, it just took longer than I thought it would for them to actually officially announce it. But I'm not surprised that the game is winding down. But anyway, I just thought that was an interesting thing. So just a brief updates from some games I was playing last month. So from a board game perspective, the only board game that's on my list is we finished up the final campaign of My Island.
Mhm.
So that is now done and over with, and I think probably good that it's done
Yeah.
and over with. Not a bad game, but kind of like I talked about last month, it really got to the point where I was like I literally scored as many points as you possibly can in the campaign. And then there's a mechanism that they do at the very, very end where in theory I still could have lost even though I maxed out my points. But I was still up by, I think the most number of like progress you can have is like 80. And I think my partner had 56 maybe 60 maybe. So like something pretty bad would have had to have happened for me to not win.
Yeah.
So that is over. I definitely, between My Island and my city, I got my butt kicked in my city and I kicked butt in My Island. I do think though my city was a little bit better of an experience, especially with the rules. The rules were just written way better for my city. So between the two, I would recommend my city, but either way, I don't think you can go wrong. My Island, just know, like I said, the rules, not always super, not as clear as they could have been, for sure. And then I talked last month about Brotato.
Yeah.
I finished Brotato, got the platinum. So Brotato complete. I had been playing it on my PS Portal while I was on the elliptical, and having those kind of survivor, vampire survivor like games are really, really easy. Like while I'm doing that, so I was like, hey, since I finished Brotato, I was like, what's next? What other survivor style games are there? Since Vampire Survivors doesn't come out on PlayStation until like this summer, I think June or July.
It's still not on PlayStation, really?
Nope, still not on PlayStation.
Why?
It's coming this summer. I mean,
it doesn't
most
make any
people
sense. It's on phones.
I know most people say it's because Xbox paid them a lot of money. Now, who knows if that's true?
Yeah, it's probably
but that's what people say. But so okay, I was like, okay, I know that's coming. So eventually, that will be like the one that I play. But like, what other quote unquote survivors style games are there on PlayStation? And actually, there's not as many as I thought there would be. But one of them is one of the new games I am playing and actually also finished, which is Army of Ruin.
Okay.
Just another very much, survivors style game where everything, you are on maps, you are picking up, you have auto attacks that are happening, and you are picking up then, your currency that lets you upgrade and like all of these things. Now, Army of Ruin, kind of like its hook, if you would, so far, is that there's like a big slew of characters to pick from, a whole bunch of like 24 I think different characters that you can pick from, but only I think 2 or 3 of them start out unlocked. You have to unlock all of the other ones. They also then have weapons, trinkets, and charms that you can get, and in order to do these you have to like basically like, hey, like when you pick your first character and do your first map, it's like 10 minutes, like every round is a minute, and you have to get through like 10 minutes to beat it. Then you beat the boss, and it's like, hey, you did this, awesome, you have now unlocked like XYZ thing. And then the next time you're like, okay, I used the same character, but now I did they have like the different levels of like for each of the maps, and there's 5 or 6 different maps. But then there's also like infinite mode that you have to like, that you can do, and then each of the other 3 levels of all of the maps have like difficulty modifiers you can add on to them.
Yeah.
And then again, all the same things that you see like in a Vampire Survivors style game, but then they'll have like certain contingencies of like, okay, to unlock this weapon you must meet like Graveyard level 2, Ruin level 4 with this character and this weapon equipped. And then once you do that, like then you unlock this other thing. So it's like this constant like way to like really kind of like almost metagaming, specifically trying to figure out what combination of the things do I need to do to unlock the things as quick as I can, if that's something that you care about. There's over 200 things to unlock in the game.
Nice.
So I had a good time with it. I think I put close to 40 hours in it. And I basically
Oh
only
wow.
played it when I was working out. But I did get the platinum in that too, so that was done. So I figured finished
Nice.
that game. It was definitely different than Brotato, as in like your initial movement is much, much slower. And the other big thing that Army of Ruin does, which I know like Vampire Survivors does, is as much more like universal upgrades. So like you save money, come back, you're like, hey, I want all of my characters in the future are going to do more damage. Bullets are going to go faster, projectiles go faster, more projectiles, like all of that stuff you can, buy in permanent increases up for all of your characters. So if you're looking for kind of a game like Vampire Survivors on PlayStation specifically, only because it's Vampire Survivors isn't there yet, Army of Ruin's a great option. It's like $8. It's really cheap. And like I said, I put 40 hours in it roughly, or just shy of 40 hours to get the platinum. So it definitely is worth the investment. There's a lot of things there, and the characters feel really, really different too, which is kind of nice. Some of them feel super underpowered for sure, but as a result, some feel super overpowered. So it is pretty fun. So Army of Ruin, like I said, pretty fun one, pretty inexpensive as an option. So since I finished that, Survivor, I was like, well, I need another one because, Vampire Survivor still isn't here, which led me to picking up Spirit Hunters Infinite Horde, which is another of these games that is on PlayStation and elsewhere for this one for sure, Z's. I just started this one. I played it for the first time today or yesterday, so I'm just getting rolling with this Spirit Hunters game. Again, very inexpensive. I think it's actually on sale right now on PlayStation for like $6. But similarly situated in the sense of whole bunch of characters to pick from, whole bunch of weapons to pick from. The big thing with this is it has like this huge upgrade screen that you'd see like in like Diablo. Like that's kind of how you're doing your upgrades, is you have this whole map of upgrades that you're kind of putting points into and all this good stuff that again applies to all of your characters. Again, they have, like you just talked about, like little runs built that where you can be like, okay, you have to meet these criteria to beat this run, and if you do, you get like a whole bunch of extra like resources and things like that. So again, this one I have just started, not very far into it, but so far I've enjoyed what I've played with it. But again, this has really just tied me over to getting to Vampire Survivors coming to PlayStation. So those, I guess I'm just on this quote unquote Survivor like kick.
Sure.
So that's what I've been playing there. The other big thing that has been interesting, and I talked about this very briefly in Discord, I have cut down my social media significantly.
Yeah.
I would love to say that it was like this really like thoughtful thing of like, I was like, oh, I, really need to like cut down. No, I just have not had time. And I honestly haven't really missed it. So I've been very intentional in not going back to it when I do have time. But one of the biggest things that I've noticed is it really is impacting my desire of what to play. Like in the sense of like, I don't feel, I still haven't started Final Fantasy. I still haven't started Stellar Blade, even though it's like downloaded on my console. I don't feel this compulsion to play. I really want to play Hellblade 2. Still haven't done that.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't feel this compulsion to like go play the hottest things or the newest things. It's just like whatever I'm feeling.
Yeah.
So what was I feeling? Well, number one, Ghostwire Tokyo, because of course, right? Like Tango gets shut
Sure.
down. I've had this game forever. It seems pretty divisive as ours. Some people think it's cool, some people think it's horrible.
Yeah.
So I was like, let's give it a shot. Ghostwire Tokyo, first person magic slinging game. It's kind of horror-ish, but it's not that scary.
Yeah.
Because did you play this game?
A little bit. It's more silly than scary, I think, but I know what you're saying.
Yeah, I would agree. It's not very scary. It is better than I thought it was going to be. Not great. Sure. But I'm enjoying it. Like, I'm having a good time running around and collecting spirits and doing all this thing. It does feel very much like a Ubisoft open world in the sense of like, there is stuff all over the place and you're looking for like statues to pray to and you're collecting souls. And then like the first time you upload souls, you're like, oh, you uploaded 10,000, 2,000 souls and there's only 248,000 to go. And you're like, oh my gosh, like, how in the world is this going to happen? Right. Like, and the story is kind of bizarre. Like, I don't really totally know what's going on or why it's going on. I'm dead, but I'm not dead. And yeah, like I said, it's better than I thought it was going to be. There's like these weird upgrade things that happen. Some of the things you fight are creepy, kind of, but most of them are just kind of weird. I don't know. I'm going to keep playing it unless I decide I don't want to anymore, but I am pleasantly surprised by it. is better than I thought it was going to be, though I don't know that I would like wholly like recommend it to someone.
Yeah.
Um, it's unique. I'm glad it exists, but
Yeah.
it's pretty unique. In addition, then I was like, okay, Ghostwire Tokyo, not really getting my groove on. It's not really fitting the what I'm looking for. So I did also download Animal Well.
Hmm.
Animal Well, I tend to kind of enjoy platformers and Metroidvanias. There's been a pretty good number of them this year so far,
Hmm.
between Prince of Persia and Tales of Kenzera and like all this good stuff. But Animal Well seemed pretty unique. Seemed like it was going for a vibe, so I wanted to check it out. And so far, it has that vibe. I don't know. I'm going to continue to play it, but I don't
Yeah.
know how often I'm going to play it, because this is definitely a game I have to be in the mood for. It doesn't tell you anything at
Nope.
all, not a thing. And sometimes I'm okay with that. But I have to be in the mood to be okay with that. And I
Yeah.
know that for many Metroidvanias, they kind of like do that as well. As you're like, you just kind of have to remember where you need to go back to. But I don't know. I played for about an hour and a half. So I'm not super far into it. I know it's not a super long game. But I'll go back to it. I'll keep it there. The nice thing is that controls and everything are super simple.
Yep.
And the whole idea of like, well, I don't know if I'll remember where to go. Well, I don't know. The game cares whether I
No, it
remember or
does not
not.
care.
So I'm not super worried about that either. So I think because I do have PlayStation Plus Extra, whatever, I'll keep playing it. It's fine. I'm enjoying it. I don't know that I'm as in love with it as everyone else seems to be.
Yeah.
Outside of this podcast, at least. But yeah, it's fine. It's totally fine. One game though that I am really enjoying that it surprised me is I am finally playing Tinykin. Tinykin, a little indie game that is basically Pikmin, but made by an indie studio. This game also was on PlayStation Plus Extra, but I actually bought it like a year ago when it came out, and I had the intention of playing it, and I just never have. This game is fantastic. It is super
Really?
adorable. Yeah, it's really really good. If you like Pikmin, I think you're really going to enjoy this game. It's this really neat world. You're kind of like this small person in a big place, so like you're uh I guess story spoilers for Tinykin. I think you're an alien on Earth, but you're small. So you're like the small size of like bugs basically, and you're just like running around this house that has like, so the steps and stuff are huge, right? um but yeah, so you're running around you have different basically types of, for lack of a better word, Pikmin that do have different abilities. Some of them explode, some of them like can carry things, some of them like help you build like ladders, very very traditional things. But this is just what you're running around and doing, and you're kind of exploring these areas and these worlds. It's pretty short. I think I have played for about 6 hours maybe, and I have like one level left to do.
Oh,
So it's pretty short, but it's just a fun little kind of world to run around in. And it's really very low friction. If you like, you can't just die, like fall infinitely. When you hit the ground, you die, but you instantly respawn on the platform you were just on. Like, it's very, very low friction. So if you are looking for something that's really kind of easy breezy, really light puzzles, like nothing's very complicated, getting 100% on the levels isn't too challenging. Like, after just kind of running around and doing my general exploring, I have usually like almost all the Tinykin, and then you pick up you can like collect pollen that helps you level some stuff up. I have almost all that collected basically at every level, just after kind of running around and doing the general stuff. I recommend it. It's fun. It's a pretty good little game. So it's no crashes, no bugs. Everything has been really really smooth. So if you're looking for a short light puzzler, I think Tinykin is a great option. Like I said, it is on PS Plus Extra right now. Otherwise, it is on everything. I don't think it's very expensive, even if you don't have it through something like that. So I would encourage people to check it out.
nice.
The final thing then that I've been playing is Ubisoft released their XDefiant.
Yeah, they
So
did.
yeah, XDefiant, they're free to play. I don't know necessarily if I want to say answer to COD, because I don't know what is ever really an answer to Call of Duty.
Hmm.
But their entry or foray into multiplayer shooters, kind of trying to wedge their way into the space that is dominated by Apex and Call of Duty and kind of all of that good stuff. So in XDefiant, you have the choice of one of a number of different um, factions from different Ubisoft games. So you have Splinter Cell and The Division, and you have different factions from these games that then give them very small abilities that are slightly different than the others. So you can be like on Libertad from like Far Cry 6, and they are like the group that has healing abilities, right? So they can like heal themselves and their teammates, but it's not like overpowered healing or anything like that.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Ghost
Watch
Recon.
Dogs.
So here's the thing: Watch Dogs is the like you have to pay to unlock that faction.
Really?
So I've not been able to play that faction at all yet because I haven't paid anything for it. But the group from The Division, I don't think this is a Watch Dogs group. I think it's a Division group. But they're like kind of like the defensive characters, or maybe it's like a Tom Clancy game. I have no idea.
Oh, Rainbow Six Siege is one of them.
Maybe a Siege, because they put down like they put down like barriers, and they
Rainbow
have like
Six,
slightly more health, right? So these different groups have different abilities that make you interact really differently, but otherwise it is very much like you have your M16 and you have your 9mm pistol and you have a frag grenade or a stun grenade, and you're going out and you're, for the most part, just trying to, get more kills than the other team is. There are like objective games. There is kind of like a push the payload game. There is a, domination style game. Like those things exist, but for the most part, it is who can rack up the most kills. That is really the bulk of what's happening. One of the big things about this game that a lot of people are really enjoying about it is this game very unabashedly does not have skill-based matchmaking. Now, if you are...
That sounds bad.
Well, if you're if you're good, people love it. If you're below level 25 and lower, I think it does do skill-based matchmaking, or at least puts you with only people who are level 25 and lower.
Yeah.
But then after that, it just free reign, best ping. That's how it matchmakes. You have fastest best ping. Yeah. It also automatically has crossplay enabled.
That's good.
I shut off crossplay because I didn't want to play with PC people because I was playing on console. So I shut off crossplay. I have not had any issues getting games. Nice. And I think when you do shut off crossplay, it even shuts off crossplay across consoles. So I think I'm only on PlayStation when I do.
Gotcha.
But matchmaking has been really, really quick. What I will say about this game is that for a kind of a foray into this type of multiplayer free-to-play shooter, overall, not too bad. Is it as good as Call of Duty is? No, it's not as solid as Call of Duty is. But as kind of dipping their toe in, this gives a realistic, viable other option right now. It is something that I think, for the most part, you can go in and have a good time. With that being said, a few caveats and things to consider. Number one, though it is free to play and you can grind out your levels for everything, and you can grind out, like everyone has to grind out attachments and all that stuff for guns like you do in any other game. It takes a while. It's not super fast to grind these things out. And the monetization is pretty bad. Skins are like $20. The battle pass I think is like $14, which isn't horrible, but is more expensive than most battle passes are. Most battle passes are 10, and it's also only 50 levels. So it is quite a bit smaller and more expensive. I think gun camos are like $12 to $14 a piece. Like it is pretty expensive for just kind of the basic like stuff. So that, again, it's free to play, so you don't have to buy any of it, right?
Yeah.
But if you are going to buy anything, it is definitely an investment. It's a little unbalanced. Some of the abilities are pretty good, like compared to the other ones. If you are playing any of the Splinter Cell characters, you have like basically a pulse UAV that you can see the enemy team through walls. Like if you pulse it, and you get it like every 30 seconds, that you can pulse it and like see them through the wall. And you also don't show up on their mini map. And if you want to, if you don't want the pulse one, what you can do is you can just get a suit that you just go invisible.
Yeah, I did play with that character.
Right. So it's pretty good. Like that's pretty good in comparison to me, who can like heal people a little bit. Not exactly ideal, right? But those things, fine, whatever. That's easy, like balance patch things. The one big problem with this game, for me, the hit detection is horrible.
I've been seeing that online. People have been complaining about it.
Absolutely horrendous. And the hard thing about it is it's not consistent. I will have games where it's like no issues, and then I will have games where I will unload like an entire SMG on someone. Every single thing shows that it hits them, and I just die, and they're fine. And you're like, ha. And I think that's like the frustrating thing about a game like this is that I understand, especially with no skill-based matchmaking, I am going to get my teeth kicked in. Like, it's just going to happen. Like, I'm just not good enough at these games anymore. I don't play them long enough anymore. Like, I'm just not. More often than not, I am probably going to be on the on the losing side. But it's really frustrating when it's like, I feel like I shouldn't have lost that fight, but
Right.
I did. And nothing on my screen, none of the feedback on my screen indicated I should have lost that fight, right? So that's really, really frustrating right now. Like, you can just absolutely get destroyed, and you don't feel like you should have lost. And I think that's really challenging. And that's a netcode thing, right? Like, they have to work on that. There's nothing that's not an easy fix to do.
Yeah.
But that is something that, like, when people talk about like Call of Duty feeling good, occasionally in Call of Duty that happens, but very rarely. Usually in Call of Duty, when you lose, you knew you lost. You're like, yep, that was me. Yep, they were better. They hit more shots, whatever.
Yeah.
This, you were giving all the information that you were hitting shots, and then you were just not apparently hitting them. So there has to be some work done on that. And I know they've acknowledged it. The other thing is some of the weapons are really unbalanced right now. So while normally grinding out weapons is not a big deal, when people grind out weapons and then have way better weapons than you that are like one-shot kills from like waist up,
Yeah.
like that's really, really rough. And you're like, well, I don't
Sure.
even have that gun yet, so that makes it a little bit unbalanced there too. So they have a little work to do. I'm not going to uninstall it. I'm going to keep playing it, but it definitely is one of those things that as soon as I get a little frustrated, I finish the games. I'm not somebody who like quits out in the middle of a game. But if I have a game and it doesn't go well, I just stop playing because I'm like,
Yeah.
I it's not worth the frustration. I haven't paid anything for it, right? Like I said, but I really think if they want this game to stick around, to have legs, for people to continue to play it, they really need to get those things squared away. Because that's the kind of stuff that people aren't going to stick around for, because that they have other options, granted that aren't free, but they have other options where those things don't happen. So I hope they can get it fixed, and I hope they can get it fixed quickly. I hope they can make that balance a little bit better, but especially that hit detection. Like I said, I'm fine with getting my teeth kicked in, but I need the feedback that I lost so that I can get better. And if I don't have that feedback,
Yeah.
how am I supposed to get any better? Right?
Right.
Because I don't know why or how I missed. I just know that apparently I missed, even though it told me I didn't. So really, really frustrating there. But like I said, I think since it is free to play, give it a shot, see if it jives with you. I think those, things will continue to improve. They have said, like Josh said, they have said that they're aware of it and they're working on it. But that is something I think that they desperately, desperately need to fix. So that's XDefiant. It's on basically, I think, everything but Switch. So feel free to give it a shot. Josh, I know you, because you had played the like alpha betas.
Closed beta or alpha
Closed beta?
or one of those things.
Do you have any desire to jump into this now that it's kind of, I think they tell us technically when you log in, it says like pre-release still on it, but any desire to jump in now?
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't really been considering it, but hearing people talk about it more recently, it makes me want to just kind of maybe jump in and see how it feels now. And see, yeah, I don't know. Well, yeah, I mean, I'll probably try it just to say I tried it.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing's really clicked with me like Apex Legends has. I think it just isn't my style of game.
Yeah.
Even though I want it to be, it's kind of weird. Even like Overwatch, I really want to play games like that. Like, I've been watching a lot of content of Marvel Rivals.
Oh yeah.
And it looks awesome. And I'm like, it's Marvel Overwatch. That should be right up my alley. But then when it comes down to it, like, I'm watching someone play as Loki and all they're doing is standing there healing. No, it wasn't Loki, it was somebody else, but they're just standing there healing someone for the entire match. And I'm like, yeah, that's not, I can't do that. I mean, I could, but I wouldn't get any enjoyment out of that. So I would have to be a different character, but I like playing Overwatch with you. I know how it's a role game more than anything else.
Oh,
and if you're not holding up your weight, your whole, like, it affects your whole team. And I just, I don't need that kind of pressure. I'm more of a Halo Infinite. If anything I was going to jump back into, it would be like Halo Infinite and get some just team deathmatch going on.
I will say, in the last 30 days, I have probably played the least amount of Overwatch in the last 30 days than I have in any 30-day stretch since Overwatch came out.
Yeah, you're done, huh?
I don't know that I'm done, but I think in the last 4 weeks, I've played it maybe once or twice a week, and that's it. And for like an
Okay.
hour each time I've played.
Yeah.
Whereas there were long stretches where I was playing 5 or 6 days a week for like an hour or more. So it has definitely fallen far, far down my priority as far as games that I'm
Sure.
playing. I also, for better or for worse, a lot of my gaming time really has moved to my PlayStation Portal when I'm on the elliptical.
Yeah.
So, games like Army of Ruin and Spirit Hunters get played. But,
Sure.
I just
As long
really
as you're
don't.
having fun, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and I don't have quite the I don't know. I think just the challenges of Overwatch, and not challenges in the sense of like good or bad, just in like the challenges to having fun while playing it, I'm just less forgiving of than I used to be. So yeah, it is what it is. We'll see. Will that continue? Will that change? Who knows? Only time will tell. But all right. Well, hey, let's move into our slightly revamped topics of the show. So we'll start with a little board game news here. Josh, one game that was kind of announced, I think we maybe have talked about this before. I don't fully remember, but we don't really know what's happening next in the Far Cry video game world. At least I don't think we do officially yet.
Right.
But hey, FunForge is taking care of that for us on the board game side. And this is from the the nice people over at ICV2, that FunForge's Far Cry Escape from Rook Island is coming out later this year. It is based on the Ubisoft video game series, will be released to trade this summer. The video game series includes 6 mainline games, a standalone expansion, yada, yada, yada. We know all that. But in the tactical cooperative board game, which reinterprets the premise of the video game, players join forces to face Voss, his followers, and other dangers to escape safely. In a series of narrative missions, players can progress characters and upgrade equipment for each player's specialties. The box contents includes 39 character standees. Yay, standees. 157 cards, player boards, yada, 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 yada. All that good stuff. Far Cry Escape from Rook Islands is for 1 to 4 players and will be released on August 1st for $64.99.
Yikes.
Josh, we obviously talk a lot about Far Cry, about how, I apparently hate Far Cry, but I'm the only person who plays and finishes the Far Cry games on this podcast.
Yeah, it's weird.
Super weird. It's just like that in Borderlands. So bizarre. Josh, I know obviously you love Far Cry 5. Far Cry 6, you did not finish.
No, but I do want to go back to it.
Okay. Far Cry Escape from Rook Islands. Any desire to go, and take on Voss in board game form?
Well, I don't have a great history of FunForge games, so that's a bad start.
Sure.
Then I look at the picture of what this game looks like, and then I look at the price tag, and there's no way. There's no way. This game looks like a $30 Target board game. I cannot imagine spending $65. No offense to anyone who would take offense. Just a broad apology if you're offended by me not liking how this game looks, which is just like very generic. And I don't know. It's just not appealing to me. I think right away, like I saw you say, like you said 65, and I had to look up a picture of the game.
Gotcha.
I'm like, okay, explain to me why this is a $65 game. Is it just because of the license? Because it doesn't look like there's a whole lot going on production-wise. Now, if I opened this up and I'm like, oh yeah, look at all these like awesome miniatures or like this really cool new map or something, like it doesn't, I'm not getting anything from that. So for me, it's not really pulling me in.
So Josh, let me ask, what is your issue with FunForge?
I've played like 3 of their games and I don't like any of them.
So what other games have you played?
Now I'm trying to remember the names of them. Let me see if I can pull them up.
Because I think what's really complicated with FunForge, like with as we talk about all the time with like board game publishing, like some games will have like 19 or 20 publishers, so it gets really complicated to know.
That might be what it is. Maybe it's Monumental, which is that. Not Monumental. Sorry, that was the one I didn't play. Shoot, it's gonna take me forever to look it up, but
No, that's fine.
they probably do good games. They probably make games I like. Did they do Tokaido?
They did. I believe they
Okay.
are at least one of the publishers of Tokaido.
I like Tokaido. Oh, Tokaido Duo. Did you know that was a thing?
Vaguely, yes.
Wow, I did not know that was a thing. All right. Well, maybe I'm giving them a bad rep. I played some games of theirs that I did not enjoy.
No,
And I don't have them anymore, so I can't. Their names.
No, that's totally valid. That's totally valid. Because, like I said, it just gets really complicated, right? Because, like, if you look up FunForge, like in Board Game Geek, and you just like go to the games they are listed as a publisher for, and then rank them by rankings, like Brass Birmingham, Brass Lancashire, Nemesis, Caverna, Agricola, Grandest Austria Hotel. But also, like, it's really weird to me because, like, Caverna, I 100% assume, like, think of as a lookout game, not as a FunForge game, right? And that's what's so weird about board game publishing. Like, if you go into Brass Birmingham, there's 20 different publishers listed. You know, like from Roxley, which I think was the original one, all the way down to, you know, studios that only publish the game in like South Korea and Japan that I can't read their names, right? Like, it's so bizarre to know like who has responsibility for what.
That's fair. I'm making a lot of broad strokes and I shouldn't be.
Well, I don't think it's a bad stroke. I'm just trying to think of like what games I associate with FunForge, and that's more of like what I was trying to struggle with, because most of their like super highly rated games, I don't think of them as the publisher, even though they're listed as a publisher, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah. I don't know. I'll have to try to. Well, regardless, I have no interest in this game.
Okay, well, that's fine. Just didn't know, you know, at least, you know, if you're now, maybe we can label you as a person who hates Far Cry.
They do make a lot of good games. I'll take that part back. Like, just starting off their list, there's a bunch of games that I like or want to play.
But again, who knows how involved they were, right? It could be a pre-existing design that they picked up and just brought to like one area, right? Like, that's what's always so hard about it. So
that's true. I don't want to just interrupt you when I figure out the game, so I'm just not going to do that.
No, that's fine. That's totally fine. All right. Well, hey, you know, in keeping with the video games coming to the tabletop, from the fine folks over at Dicebreaker, Terraria's co-op board game will tunnel its way onto Kickstarter later this month. The tabletop adaptation of video game Terraria is headed to crowdfunding at the end of this month, which they mean May, turning this immensely popular 2D Minecraft-y hit into a co-op board game. Terraria, the board game, was revealed last summer at the tabletop studio Paperfork Games take on original developer Relogic's multi-million selling indie phenom. Josh, have you played Terraria, the video game?
You know, I almost play it a bunch of times, so I never have played it.
I think
I almost play it.
That's a great way to that I could describe it too. I've almost played this game many times. The upcoming board game stays faithful to the broad strokes of Terraria by generating a 2D world across different biomes from a layout of gridded cards. Players can then explore their unique world by venturing above and below ground, encountering enemies and bosses, mining resources, and crafting both upgraded equipment and building a base. In other words, it's Terraria, but as a board game. Imagine that. So, Josh, actually, the day you are listening to this podcast is the day the Kickstarter launches on May 28th.
Oh.
So that is when so you can go look right now and see kind of what things are looking like. But Josh, you know, having almost played the video game multiple times, any desire to try out Terraria on the tabletop?
I'm watching someone live stream it right now. I don't know even what to think of this game. So I'm gonna close that real quick and look at the pictures of this board game. The picture. I don't know. I don't have a good answer for you. I'm still a big fan of video games becoming board games, so I should probably be a little bit more supportive of Far Cry as well. Considering I have to now say I'm probably a FunForge Games fan, so forget anything I said. If there's one thing I can do is put the shoe in my mouth and then just promptly take it out and apologize.
It's okay. Easy. You double checked what your feelings were and got some more information. There's nothing wrong.
I got to figure out what that company is of that I'm confusing them for. It's got to be another company. I'm gonna figure that out. this is a game that if I knew people were interested in it, I would be interested in it. It does seem like it could make for a fun board game with the exploring, probably just like how people love that. There's a Deep Rock Galactic board game, right?
There is, yes.
Yeah. So I think it makes sense. It seems like a good transition to the board game world as far as what you can do, like in board games, as far as like the exploration aspect and the fighting, crafting, and all that stuff. So it seems interesting. I'll check it out when we get a price and when I get some art and stuff to see what it looks like. I guess tomorrow.
Yeah, we will know
Let's
tomorrow.
see what that looks like.
We'll check it out. Awesome. You're not by chance thinking of Steam Forged games, are you?
No.
Okay,
No.
just making sure they have the Forge in there, and I know that obviously you know sometimes they're a little hit and miss. Some people don't like love Horizon and stuff on the tabletop. So
I think I'm mixing up the logos. There's another company with a logo similar to them that I think I'm confusing them for.
Gotcha. I don't know. When I look at their logo, I see Lucky Duck Games, but I don't know if that's
no. That company that I'm thinking of might not even exist anymore. It might have been like absolved into Asmodee or something.
Very possible.
But I don't see any games next to me that have that logo I'm thinking of because I probably got rid of all those ones.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, hey, we'll jump on to our last story here then. And that is that the winners of the 18th annual Board Game Geek Awards were announced. And this is from Board Game Wire. The economic class warfare simulator Hegemony, Lead Your Class to Victory, has dominated Board Game Geek's 18th annual Golden Geek Awards by winning all 3 of its nominated categories. So we'll just briefly go through the games here and the winners very quickly. And Josh, in his patented style, Josh, I will just ask for your feeling, your response to these awards. Sound good?
Sure.
All right. So for 2-player game, the winner was Sky Team.
Who?
For artwork presentation, the Castles of Burgundy Special Edition.
Yeah, expensive, right?
It is super expensive, though it does look very, very good. For cooperative game, Sky Team again.
I'll have to check it out. If it's cooperative, I'll have to check it out.
It's supposed to be very, very good. It is on my short list to pick up. Expansion, Ark Nova Marine Worlds.
I have that game. I think it's one of probably the only board games I own that is still in shrink wrap.
I own that game and that expansion, but I haven't played the expansion yet. For most innovative, Hegemony, Lead Your Class to Victory.
I have never heard of this game.
Oh, really? It's kind of a big hotness as of late.
Yeah.
For light game of the year, Thunder Road Vendetta.
I'm sorry, I'm caught up on the table presence of this Hegemony. No, thank you. Thunder Road Vendetta. My son, every time he sees that board game in here in my room, he wants to play it, and I just need to play that game.
Excellent. So for medium game of the year, Earth.
Another game I have that I need to play. Shocker.
Based on Josh's previous comments, probably not surprising for a heavy game of the year, Hegemony, sure. Lead Your Class to Victory.
Yeah, it's definitely makes sense.
Man, that game has so much stuff. It is ridiculous. Okay, party game. That's not a hat.
Correct. It's a board game.
Correct. It is print and play. Waypoints.
Sure.
Okay. Solo game. Legacy of You.
Of Josh?
Of you.
As a joke.
You.
As a joke.
That's actually supposed to be a very, very good game. I'm not a big solo game person, but that game's supposed to be very good. Thematic game. Hegemony. Lead Your Class to Victory.
Sure.
Josh, what would it take you to get you to play that game?
Just a game group that asked me to play. I'll play it.
Cool. Okay. For war game, Undaunted, Battle of Britain.
Yeah, I'm always surprised people play war games. I mean, good for them, but every time I see Tom Vasel open a war game and he reads like 360 to 10,000 minutes, I'm like, what the heck?
I know, right? All right. Best podcast, Board with Video Game. No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
One Stop Co-op Shop. I don't know what this podcast even is.
Me neither.
Are you familiar with One Stop Co-op Shop?
No, but it's One Stop Co-op Shop is a podcast about cooperative board games. It has revolving hosts every other week. Every other week, we take one game and break it down, the good, the bad, our overall impressions. So we discuss the game. We have a design discussion about the parts of the game. One of the parts of the game. It's hosted by Peter Goussis. Ooh, sorry, Peter, if that's wrong. And Michael Kelly. And they also have Steve Kingsley and Colin Degnan. Okay, I don't know who any of these people are, but
Well, they also have,
maybe I'll check them out.
Yeah,
437 episodes.
Yeah. Clearly need to brush up my knowledge on other board game podcasts. And best board game app, Unmatched Digital Edition.
Hey, I agree. It's a great app. It's not better than the Gloomhaven, though.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
That should have won for best board game app.
Excellent. Well, hey, there we go. All right. So, Josh, anything stand out to you about the winners at the 18th annual Board Game Golden Geek Awards?
Well, I think I got to add Sky Team to the checkout list because
yes,
I'm always looking for 2-player co-op games. Those are rare. 2-player co-op games are rare. I'm always looking for 2-player games. I'm always looking for co-op games. So that gives me an interest. I keep thinking that I'm hearing my computer fan going really fast. It's just pouring rain outside.
Oh, gotcha. Well, there you go. All right. I hear great things about Sky Team. Hegemony is on my short list. I feel
Hegemony, like that's huge. It's a huge game.
It is a huge game. It's a really, really big game. It's a 4.2 is the weight on Board Game Geek.
Did you pull the trigger on Castles of Burgundy or no?
I did not. I contemplated, and because my Castles of Burgundy that we have is water damage, so I was like, potentially, but I could not bring myself to pulling the trigger. It was just so expensive.
Sure.
So
yeah, I get it. I saw it at my board game shop, and I couldn't believe how expensive it was.
Yeah, it really is quite spendy. So I did not, but there we go. Okay. We're actually gonna, you know what? We're gonna skip our board game topic.
Okay.
And we'll maybe cover it next month since we're already over an hour in. Just trying to be, cognizant, courteous to the listeners. Trying to be a little tighter with our podcast, so we're not going quite as long as we have historically for these 1 month episodes. So we're gonna move on then to our video game news, and then we'll get to our video game topic. So Josh, it's hard to think that it's been this long since this all happened, but we haven't podcasted since then. So Xbox closed a few studios under their Bethesda umbrella, but also opened a new studio under the Activision umbrella. So just very brief, obviously, I know this was the talk of the town. There's been many podcasts about this, all this good stuff. But Xbox announced that they were shutting down Arcane Austin and Tango Gameworks, were kind of like the quote unquote big ones. And then as well as they shut down Alpha Dog Studios, who did Mighty Doom, the mobile game. And then Roundhouse Games is shut down, but those people are getting kind of wrapped into or moved over to ZeniMax Online to work on Elder Scrolls Online. So that kind of all happened. People got real angry. And then, a few weeks later, it was announced that Activision is opening a new studio to develop narrative-based AAA franchise. So the studio is called Elsewhere. So it's kind of the name of it, Elsewhere Entertainment, and it is in Warsaw, Poland. They have, talked about all the pedigree of the different games that people have worked on, and it's a whole bunch of stuff. But obviously we're not going to see that game for, I'm assuming, a very long time since it just got announced now. But Josh, you are, of the two of us, the resident Xbox, console person.
Sure.
I definitely have an Xbox. I play on Xbox, but it's definitely not my primary place to play. What were all of your thoughts about all this, kind of all the scuttlebutt, kind of the reaction from people, the announcement of this new Activision studio, and now that we're removed from everything, how are you feeling about, the future of Xbox?
Well, that's a lot of questions. Not good.
Oh, okay. I actually thought you might be pretty optimistic at this point.
No, I mean, this is pretty crappy news. This is pretty, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like Xbox hasn't done anything right in the past 9 months. I don't know what they're thinking. I don't know why. I don't know. when Phil Spencer talks, he talks about supporting all these studios that they're bringing in, letting them do what they want to do with, not touching them. And I don't think that you can look at this news and go, oh yeah, this was a surprise to them that they had to close these people down. It probably came out of nowhere, and it's nothing that they could have done about it. Like, this is something that they I don't know. I'm probably more mad about the Hi-Fi Rush Tango situation than anything else. Not that I have a huge love or background with Tango GameWorks, but when you look at a company like Microsoft and you look at a game that comes out like Hi-Fi Rush and just how groundbreaking and out of nowhere it came, you want that to be fostered by this big giant corporation, not shut down by this big giant corporation.
Yeah.
And you want to have trust in this company that's like, we're going to give you the games you want, and we're going to give it like to you wherever you want to play it. And all the stuff that came out after this, like the non conversation that happened, like I can't believe how quiet Microsoft was. And then they put this poor woman that had to defend. She just gets this job, and now she has to be the face of the bad news, just to tell people what they don't want to hear, and basically to not say anything, say a lot of words that have no meaning and nothing behind them. And I don't even I can't blame her. I'm sure she's not the one writing these things down, but she has to be someone has to be the face, right? So I think it just it feels sloppy. It feels disingenuous. It feels, I don't know. It just doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to be an Xbox gamer. It hasn't really felt great to be an Xbox gamer for a year at least, as far as talking about first party console exclusives and things like that. And then you throw in the stuff about more games coming to other platforms, which that doesn't bother me so much. But I do understand why people get bothered by it. And that's not just Xbox fans, because we can use PlayStation and PC as an example as well. Like, people just want to have ownership over their favorite console or gaming device. So I understand that aspect, but Microsoft's kind of doing the opposite of what you want a studio to do as a fan of a studio, not a studio, of a gaming company, console creator, whatever you want to say. Like, it just doesn't. I don't feel like they make me feel like a number now, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
and that's not what I want. For me, for someone who uses their console for their entire house and entertainment and movies and YouTube and streaming music and playing games, I love Xbox. I always have loved Xbox. They've always been my console of choice because it does all that for me in a way that I like. I know that you can do that on the PlayStation. I just don't like the interface or how it is, and that's just from using Microsoft. So I don't know. I'm going to end up rambling more, but it just kind of is really bad news. You don't want to see these many people get laid off. You don't want to see studios get shut down under this safe umbrella that they were supposed to be under. And I'm sure they knew they were going to shut these people down when they bought them, but why? Right. Why spend all this money to do that? Well, why not keep them? I don't know. I mean, I'm not a businessman for Microsoft, but they certainly are still making a lot of money. So, and if they're getting away from consoles, they are going to have even more money because they won't be taking that loss. I don't know. It's just really sad, and it's just kind of frustrating to be an Xbox fan right now. And if you went into our Discord when all this was going on, you can see that. there's people taking the business approach, and there's people taking the fan approach, and then there's people just kind of observing. And I don't think anyone feels good about it, no matter what side they're coming from. It's not a good look. And it's not like we're putting these people in other teams. Like sometimes you see a studio close, but they're like, hey, we're closing Sony Santa Monica and we're moving them all to fill in the blank, right? Like they still have jobs. They're still working for us. And that's not the case here. So, I don't even need to get into the Xbox supporting games in Japan. They just they gave up on it, I guess. They're just like, oh, we'll just give up on the Japanese market. We just told them we were going to support them, and we'll just shut that studio down. So, see you later. See you later, Japan. It's just frustrating.
Yeah, I hear you. When you think about trying to think of how to ask this question. So, Xbox is over the last year, let's say, right? Like we just had Hellblade 2, we had Starfield, they had Forza Motorsport last year. You kind of mentioned that there aren't, like, from a first party perspective, like transparently PlayStation either, right? Like PlayStation hasn't been like crushing first party games in the last couple of years here. That it's been they've had some good ones, obviously, but from a volume perspective, they have not been there. Are you like happy with like the games you have been getting? Like maybe you're not, like you're frustrated kind of with the business of it, but like, have you been happy with the games you've been getting though still?
I mean, if we talk about, like, for me, so I was not happy with Halo Infinite. At least I wasn't happy with, like, the game was fine, but I didn't have, when I played it, I couldn't play co-op. Like, how crazy is that, right?
Right.
So I'm not happy about that. That's a big, big mistake they made, in my opinion. So I think back, and it's been over 2 years since they released a game that I loved, which was Forza Horizon 5. And they have put out some decent DLC, not on par with Forza Horizon 4 DLC at all. So I don't know what's going on with that. I mean, I know what's going on. They're also working on a different game, so they have less people making the DLCs, I'm assuming. I never played. I still have to fix this critical error of I haven't played Hellblade yet. Only because I'm constantly told you need to play with headphones to really get the game, and I don't ever play with headphones. Ever. Because I play in the living room, unless I'm on PC. So maybe I'll try to play it on my PC. But I am interested in playing it, and I do think I have no reason to doubt the reviews, but I also know that there's like, it's kind of a puzzle game too, and that's really not my thing.
Right.
So it might not be for me, but I can appreciate that people love it. I'm not an Ori fan, so the Ori games really weren't for me. So, as far as the first party games, unless we're talking Gears of War and Halo and Forza, I've been waiting a while for some of those bigger ones. So from the past, 2.5 years, like 1 or 2 big games for me.
Right. Well,
which is fine, but it's not like PlayStation, right? Like I can probably tell you 10 PlayStation games in the past 2 years that are some of the best games I've ever played. So it's kind of a bummer when you look at it that way, but they've always been that way too.
Did you hear okay, and I am tech illiterate, so I have no idea what this means.
Well, I'm probably not gonna
this is where we need Donnie to tell us, and whether this even matters. But Jez Corden said that the next Xbox will be a reference design for other manufacturers to make devices similar to Surface Pro. Does this mean that basically, like, Xbox is going to make Xboxes, but then if other people want to make Xboxes, they can too? Is that what that means?
I don't. You know what it makes me feel angry to hear that.
Okay.
But I don't know what that means. I'm assuming, that they're kind of just saying like, here is our cloud service, and if you decide you want to use it, it's not going to take rocket science for Sony to figure out how to do the same thing. Maybe they're just trying to get ahead of it and be like, "This is us. We did this. We're inventing this," instead of waiting for someone to do what they did. Yeah, I don't know. I don't. I know we're in. I guess the end of this console generation for some reason.
I think we're.
I don't know. I don't know what's happening, but I just don't like talk about new consoles already.
I know, right?
I'm just gonna go PC from now on. Might
Well,
as well.
I considered that, then my PC like cruded out. So it's
Yeah,
like,
but
well,
now you can just buy a new console and it can be your new PC.
it's true.
And you'll spend the same amount of money.
It's true. I mean, just very briefly, and then we'll move on. It's always disappointing when studios close down. That is a bummer. I do wonder. This is going to sound bad, and I don't mean it to. Man, Xbox was huge. The number of studios they had was so many. It seemed unwieldy, right? Like
Sure.
and if you think about the amount of releases they've had, how like even like if you think about all the studios they bought in 2018, like some of those studios haven't even released games yet.
Yeah.
And so I think that like it really seems like they have way too much going on, and they probably did need to slim down some areas where they could slim down and reduce the number of, because I don't know how you effectively manage like that many studios. And even with what they had before, it didn't necessarily seem like it was always going as well as they would like it to. I think obviously giving teams time to cook is very important. Like you want to do that, and I support them giving them the time that they need. But when you have studios going, 6 years, 7 years, and then releasing games that are not necessarily super big, because I'm thinking it's very specifically like, oh, maybe Compulsion's released something in between, because I'm thinking like South of Midnight, right? Like, because they did Contrast and then they released that other game. What was the other game that they released?
Yeah.
Anyway, never mind.
Might as well be asking a wall.
Yeah, sorry. But like, I just really think that like you're getting to the point where some of these teams have been cooking for a really, really long time.
Yeah.
And I think that it gets harder and harder, right? I think even no matter how, much you want to give teams time and let them cook and let them work on things and come up with cool things and be artists, like even if you are a multi-trillion-dollar company, like there's gonna eventually be a deadline on something, right? Like, and it's one of those things of, even if money seems infinite, which it probably does when you talk about the amount of money a studio like Xbox has, with that Microsoft backing, they still have a budget, right? They still have a thing that they're like, here's how much money you get to like run your division, and they got to figure out how to make that happen. And that money, even if it's a lot, is not endless.
Yeah.
And it does seem like there probably could be a bit of a longer leash maybe than they had. But again, I'm not condoning it. I'm not saying that it's okay. I'm not saying that they should have done what they did. But I'm like, who else, like if they're like, we need to save some money.
Yeah.
Again, who knows, like if they really needed to, what else do you do? Right. Like, I don't necessarily know there. So it's just sad for all involved. I would say hopefully everyone lands on their feet, but I don't know. It feels like working in the game industry right now is really hard. And wherever you go, you're probably just going to get laid off there too, because everyone's been laying people off this year and closing studios down. London studio just had their official like closing tweet the other day. So like, yeah, everyone's closing stuff down. But
yep, it's a bummer.
It is a bummer. Let's talk about maybe happier things. I don't know. Ubisoft has officially announced Assassin's Creed Shadows. But they also canceled The Division Heartland. So Josh, we got a cinematic trailer along with some like breakouts of like information about the characters, kind of, and all that good stuff for Assassin's Creed Shadows, which is due to come out November 15th of 2024. Dual protagonists, one of them much being more of a shinobi, the other one being much more of a samurai. Kind of both of them doing dual roles. One's going to have the opportunity to kind of be that stealthy, killer. The other one's much more bigger brawler. How much you can switch between, if there's dedicated like missions like that, I don't think has been fully talked about yet. I assume we'll see something at Ubisoft showcase about that. But also, kind of wrapped up in all this news, which was kind of really close to their financials. It was also revealed that the Division Heartland, which was they're supposed to be free to play Division game, though they were happy with kind of where it was at and what it had done, they didn't see a path forward for it, and they really wanted to focus on their Assassin's Creed games and their other core franchises, which the Division 3 is being worked on. But they decided not to move forward with Division Heartland. Thoughts on this Ubisoft update, Jots? Excited about Assassin's Creed Shadows? Were you excited, looking forward at all to the Division Heartland? Kind of just thoughts on kind of these updates that we've gotten at this point from Ubisoft.
Ubisoft's really interesting to me because I guess I give them credit for putting games out, but also they're like the quickest studio to cancel games once they're out, or they try real hard to keep them going. And I think like Roller Champions is a game I think of, and I think of they did like another free to play versus game, the online game I can't think of right now. I'm interested. I don't know where. It's a bummer about the Division thing. I think that would have been fun to play, right? Like just another Division game would have been fun. It's just interesting that they gave up on that, but are putting the mobile game out still on phones.
Right.
So I don't know. That confuses me, but I mean, I know the mobile market is ready for money to be earned with better English than what I just said. Assassin's Creed Shadows, I think it looks cool. Obviously, the CG looks great in the trailer. I don't know where I stand on Assassin's Creed anymore. I said I wanted a game like the original Assassin's Creeds, and then we got Mirage. And I didn't mean that I wanted to play like the original Assassin's Creeds.
Gotcha.
I was hoping for the next gen game that plays like a next gen game, but has controls like the original Assassin's Creeds.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I mean, I'm always up for a samurai game. I guess I just have to see what the game looks like, and if it was co-op, it would be cool. But I mean, we have Rise of the Ronin, which is co-op, and I still haven't played it, so I guess I don't really need it either. So I'm just happy there's more Assassin's Creed and it's still going strong, and I'm happy that people love the new format. It's just not for me, so we'll see where this one falls in the not for me category or wait and see category. You got to be interested in this, though, right?
Oh yeah, I'm super excited about Assassin's Creed Shadows. Like, I am all in on this. This is going to be, kind of my probably one of, if not my big game of the fall. I am 100% looking forward to it. So I'm super in on that. I am bummed about the Division Heartland. I do like the Division as well. So I was super curious about that game and kind of what direction they could go, because it did seem like the Division seemed like a game that could really fit in that free-to-play model in a maybe reasonable way, potentially.
Yeah.
Now, whether they or not the economy would be reasonable, who knows, but it did seem like that might be a good fit. And the fact that they still released like Skull and Bones, but are like throwing this game to the side, like, kind of is surprising to me.
Weird.
Maybe there was some contractual obligations with like different, financing they had gotten for Skull and Bones that they had to release it. Like, who knows? But it seems a bit odd that this game, which from people who had played, closed alphas and things like that maybe weren't supposed to say anything, but did say something, did sound like it was pretty positive, as far as what they had experienced. So, like I said, a bit bummed by that. Now, granted, would I've had time to play it? Who knows? Probably not, if I'm transparent. But I would have been down to at least try it. But yeah, I'm really excited about Assassin's Creed Shadows. Looking forward to getting, I assume, more information, at the Ubisoft, their little summer showcase that they're doing here in June. And Josh, just as an example of what you were just talking about, last month, I think, For Honor started its 8th year of content updates.
Yeah.
So,
and good for them. I really liked For Honor when I played it. I'm sure it is nothing like the game I played when I started playing it.
Yeah.
So, but I'm glad to see it. Like, that went forever. Rainbow Six Siege went forever. But also they never got that Rainbow Six Siege sequel side game out either.
Well, no, Extraction came out.
Oh, did it? Oh boy. Well, that's even
it
worse.
came out.
I didn't even realize it came out.
It totally came out. It still is. I think it launched directly on Game Pass.
Really?
I'm pretty positive. Yeah, if that tells you how good it was.
Yeah. No, I had no idea that it even came out.
Yeah, it was like January of last year, I feel like.
I thought it got delayed forever and just never came out. But no, I don't doubt you.
Yeah, no, it came out. So, oh man. Well, while you look that up to verify whether or not I'm right.
No, I just want to see what it looks like. I believe you.
Okay, gotcha. Last final story here. IGN has bought pretty much most of their competition, except for us. But IGN Entertainment acquires Eurogamer, GI, which is gamesindustry.biz, not Game Informer, VG247, Rock Paper Shotgun, and more. The new owner makes redundancies across the Gamer Network portfolio. This is from that aforementioned GameIndustry.biz. IGN Entertainment has acquired the Gamer Network family of digital brands for an undisclosed sum, though I have heard people say it was like 20 million or something like that potentially.
Whoa.
Oh, actually, though, which is really low, apparently. I don't know. Who knows? I don't know. I don't know how much media organizations are worth these days. As a result of the acquisition, some redundancies have been made across the UK-based organization. Gamer Network's publications are GameIndustry.biz, Eurogamer, including 6 local language editions, Rock Paper Shotgun, VG247, and who we regularly use, Dicebreaker.
That's a bummer.
The business also holds shares in Outside Xbox, Digital Foundry, and Hookshot, which operates Nintendo Life, Push Square, Pure Xbox, and Time Extension. IGN Entertainment is the division of Ziff Davis that includes IGN, Map Genie, How Long to Beat, and Humble Bundle. It has acquired the websites from PAX and New York Comic Con organizer ReadPop, which initially bought the Gamer Network business in 2018. So, Josh, it looks like, IGN/Ziff Davis just hoovering up all of its competition. Thoughts? Do you care? What was your reaction to learning that IGN is just kind of buying all their competition?
I guess if I'm being honest, I don't know if this makes me a bad person or not. I don't want IGN buying anything. I feel about IGN the way I probably feel about Kotaku.
Okay.
Like they're killing game journalism by doing what is now Facebook, which is just clickbait articles for everything. Or just like some like crazy wild things for journalists to say about things that are maybe I'm thinking more Kotaku on that, but I just haven't found them relevant to my interest in a long time. I think it's just because they're trying to cover too many things. It really just kind of blurs the line between if you're going for somewhere for game news, like we choose other places to go,
right?
Because we want game news.
Yeah.
And I can remember, I think IGN was the first company to really just like blur that line. I remember going to their website and then all of a sudden it's TV and movies and and all this other things that just weren't what I was going there for.
Right.
So I guess I don't look at them favorably. I have nothing to stand on as far as to say like they do this wrong or they do this right. I just have no interest. I get worried when someone like that buys up all that stuff. I mean, we just talked about it with Microsoft, right? Anybody. Yeah. Or Embracer Group, or we look at all these people all these companies that just like, hey, we have this money, we're just going to buy everything. And then we'll see what happens afterwards. I don't like that. So hopefully we're not going to lose things like Humble Games and Dicebreaker and things like that. But I guess we'll have to wait and see, I suppose.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Obviously IGN, the people who work at IGN, it's not like they had a say in this, right? It's not like they're the ones who are doing it. It's definitely a Ziff Davis situation where they're just kind of going out. And I mean, Ziff Davis owns so many things.
Yeah.
Just so much stuff.
Hey, right now, Rainbow Six Extraction has 2 viewers on Twitch.
All right, there you go. See, if I told you that existed.
And 4 live streams, and 2 of them have no viewers, and 2 of them have 1 viewer each.
So what I hear you saying, Josh, is we should be playing Rainbow Six Extraction, and it's an opportunity, as a place for us to make a difference and get some viewers.
We could play on Luna. We could play on Amazon Luna also.
Perfect. But yeah, I like you. I get more and more. I don't know. I can't tell you the last time I went to a quote unquote major game site. I do think that, quote unquote major video game websites and news coverage is getting a bit. I don't want to say outdated is probably a bad word for it, but one of the things I think we have learned and companies have learned is that they don't need the IGNs and the GameSpots and the Game Informers anymore, right? Like they can speak directly to their customers and their consumers. And, some of them do that, like Xbox does a lot. Others a little less, like Nintendo, and some basically never at all, other than like twice a year, like PlayStation, right? But they don't need a third-party intermediary to communicate that information. So the role of those sites has changed dramatically, and kind of like you talked about, like it's all like wikis and guides and strategies now, right? And when you go to the other, like I used to like using Games Radar, but they've even gotten pretty bad. But like Game Rant and all those things, like it is just like SEO farm click. Like, I mean, they have like stories like every like 4 minutes of like different like new quote unquote news things, and it's really just trying to get anyone who might be interested in that game to click on a headline for that game, right? Like the updates are almost like, how is that a news story? It's like, oh, this game got this patch. Like, okay, well, I'm sure the people who play that game really care about that, and I'm sure they're going to get it directly from the patch notes on that company's website, or that are the patch notes that are in the game, or something like that. They probably don't need your news story about it, but it does make it, and it has gotten pretty dire out there, I think, for if you are one of those sites that was a quote unquote big site that did media, like it just isn't needed. And you look at the success of all of the places, not all of them have sustained, but a lot of the people who went independent and are doing the Patreon thing, I think that's where a lot of the consistent membership is, right? Like people like find the people they like and pay them, $5 a month.
Podcasts, and Discord.
Yeah.
Because if you go to Kotaku right now, their leading article on their front page is a picture of a cow, and it says 10 unforgettable cult movies you can watch on Netflix today. That's Kotaku's biggest article when you open up their thing.
But Josh, what are they?
Okay. Well, apparently the cow image is not... Oh, it's top secret. Okay. Okay, great. Repo Man. The 1984 Repo Man is number one.
Gotcha.
Top Secret from 1984 is number 2.
Okay.
That's with Val Kilmer.
Yeah.
Nightmare on Elm Street 3 from 1987 is number 3.
Cool.
It Follows.
Oh,
is number 4.
I do like It Follows. That's a good movie.
Madam Web made it in their top 5.
For all sorts of people. That's fine.
Starman from 1984. So someone
they love
is rating. Someone loves 1984, apparently. Which is fine. Firestarter from 1984 is also on this list.
What? They're just pulling our leg now, right?
X is on here from A24. And Body Double from 1984. I can't make it up. And of course, Starship Troopers gets in there. And that's it. Those are our, you gotta watch these now on Netflix. Thanks Kotaku.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, this post originally appeared on Gizmodo, just so you know.
Oh, so it's not even their article.
There we go. Anyway, let's move on. So with that, yeah, video games
I'm not done roasting Kotaku. I just do it on my own time.
You are welcome to do so. With that, we are crushing time here. We're so good at this, Josh. Okay. So for our video game topic this week, this is going to kind of be our summer preview of 2024. Now, what's so funny?
18 Hades 2 character portraits that are hot as hell.
But Josh, here's the sad thing, right? Like,
yeah,
they chose to go to this because clearly this is the thing people click on. right? Like
I'm
they
not
weren't
clicking on
clicking,
it.
but they weren't clicking on their other things either.
Someone's clicking on it, yeah.
They must get more people to click on these things, right? Which I think is a sad state of
Kyle,
affairs.
18 Hades 2 character portraits that are hot as hell. Come on. It's a lazy pun. Uh,
Well, they know their audience. I don't know.
Hades 2 impressions. Quote, it whoops so much ass, unquote. Also a headline. Oh boy. All right. I'm clicking off of Kotaku. I regret giving them clicks.
All right. Well, hey, I mean, I did ask you to tell me the movies, so that is on me. That's on me. But all right. Okay. So our video game topic, talking about the summer games preview. So obviously, we are posting this, on May 28th. So this will be, posted right before we kind of roll into June, which is, back in the olden days was the time of E3. Now we have Jeff Keighley Summer Game Fest. So I thought, when we're not going to record again until the end of June, when most of these pressers are going to have happened. So just kind of talk a little bit about what we're thinking we'll see, hoping to see, wanting to see. This isn't necessarily a quote unquote prediction show. And there isn't necessarily like, we're going to cover, X number of predictions from every show, but just kind of stepping through the major ones and being like, hey, what are you excited about? What do you think you might see? What are you hoping to see kind of for each of them? And we'll go rather quickly to kind of just step through things. Josh, I don't know if you had time to think about this beforehand at all. So we'll just start with, the most recent company we were just talking about. We'll start with Ubisoft, Josh.
Sure.
So Ubisoft is doing a showcase. What are you hoping to see? Thinking we'll see something that you'd be really, really want to see? Again, like I said, no straight predictions, but just kind of what might make you excited to see from Ubisoft this summer.
I'd like to see what's coming up for Far Cry.
Do you think they announced a new Far Cry?
I think they announced something Far Cry. I don't know what, but it's been too long in between games. I think that at least for an announcement, I think we're probably going to see this year a lot of 2025 things.
Yeah.
Or later. So I think that just some announcements or some CG stuff to get it going, or our introduction to the new bad guy or something.
Right.
I think we'll see something like that, which I would like to see. I mean, if they don't get a Splinter Cell game out within the next 2 years,
yeah,
I don't know who's running that business over there. It's like, make that free money. You could just put Sam Fisher on the screen. People will throw money at it. I would like to see a new Splinter Cell. I would like it to be co-op focused, or at least have a co-op in it, like the one of those Splinter Cell Double Agent. And I'd like to see some Rayman stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Because we've been missing Rayman. He pops up in like Brawlhalla and stuff.
Sure does.
But we're missing like when did that Rayman game come out? Legends, right? That's the last one that came out.
Oh man, yeah.
That?
Legends would have been 20.
Legends, right? That's a while.
It's been like a decade. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think we're really overdue for that. Like that type of they really killed it with that formula.
Like that game was great.
That. Yeah. So I would like to see that, and maybe a little bit more Mario Rabbids, and some surprises. I think Ubisoft is always good at surprises, even if they don't turn out to be like huge big games. Like, even like the first Skull and Bones trailer was incredible. I don't think we see Beyond Good and Evil 2. I really think that that's dead in the water. I think they probably were trying to bite off more than they could chew on that. Maybe it was too ambitious. But who knows? Maybe it'll surprise me. But what about you? What are you thinking for Ubisoft?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you so much about the Rayman thing, because like I think both I'm sure they probably have a mobile game in there, but both Origins and Legends were both great. Like they were really, really good games, and it is kind of disappointing we haven't seen anything from them, related to that since then. I definitely am in agreement that I hope we see. I wrote down something weird, and for me that is, like a Rayman game. Like I know they're probably never going to go back to it, but like an Ubi art game, like anything that's
quirky.
like, Yeah, and I know that they, have had a ton of cuts and they've had a ton of layoffs, and they really have talked more and more about like consolidating and focusing on their major franchises, and that's really what they're trying to do. But even kind of like you said, the Mario Rabbids games, like anything that's kind of still shows that they have some quirkiness left in them still. I would really love to see. Now,
Yeah,
do I anticipate we actually will? No. But I would love to see that. Obviously, my biggest focus is on Assassin's Creed. Like, I really want to see gameplay of Shadows. Like, what
yeah,
is the actual gameplay? They've said a lot of really neat things. I think, Josh, that I don't know if you've seen any of the gameplay stuff they talked about for Shadows, but it seems like
no.
this is going to be your Splinter Cell game, because they talk
Oh,
about like
okay.
when you are the shinobi, you can like take out lights to create shadows, and you can actually just hide in darkness and like kind of doing all those things, and like
Yeah,
the different seasons will provide different opportunities for you to like, hey, this lake is now frozen, so you can cross it. Like very much kind of instilling those Splinter Cell like
yeah.
things into that game. So that might be your that might be your
Uh,
what you're getting for Splinter
when you
Cell.
said that, I was like, oh, we also got Splinter Cell and Ghost Recon Wildlands,
Hmm.
and it was fine. But I guess we're also due for Ghost Recon, huh?
Yeah, potentially. I
Maybe.
yeah, maybe we'll see.
Breakpoint broke it.
I I'm open to more Far Cry. I wonder if that, between Far Cry and Assassin's Creed, if that's like kind of a lot for them.
It
And
might be.
would they really want to show, yeah, especially if Far Cry is like next year, maybe if it was next year, they'd want to show it already. Um, I'm curious I think this is gonna be a really heavy Assassin's Creed show. Maybe I'm wrong. I
Well,
think
they're
we'll see
doing
obviously
so many Assassin's Creed things. It kind
we'll
of
also see
has
a
to
lot
be,
of Star
right?
Wars Outlaws though. So that's where I'm
Oh
kind of
yeah, I
like,
completely forgot they're publishers of that.
yeah, because that comes out in August, and then we have Assassin's Creed in November. So I do think that's
Yeah,
going to be kind of that, and then probably Just Dance will be a lot of what we see.
yeah,
But I also really am curious about what Assassin's Creed Infinity actually is. Like we know it's this
right.
hub that all of these Assassin's Creeds are going to launch from. So when I buy Assassin's Creed Shadows, like what shows up on like my cross media bar? Is it
Yeah,
Assassin's Creed Shadows, or is it like Assassin's Creed Infinity that I log into and then I play Shadows? Like
right.
how does that work? That's kind of one of the things I'm really interested in seeing. And then selfishly, there's been this rumor of this Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag remaster.
Yeah,
I would love to see how far along or close that actually is. I think there was a thing not that long ago that talked about they have like 6 separate Assassin's Creed like projects in development right now.
yeah. It's crazy.
It's so much Assassin's Creed, but I do think that though many people are tired of it, I still love it.
Yeah.
And I will continue to play all the Assassin's Creed things. So I'm down for that. But I think for me, that's really what I'm looking forward to from Ubisoft is tell me all the Assassin's Creed things. So let's let's stick with third party stuff then. Mr. Jeff Keighley will have his actual presentation, his
Yeah.
Summer Game Fest presser. Anything there, Josh, that you're wanting to see, hoping to see, thinking we might see?
I don't. I always appreciate Jeff Keighley's stuff because it's always stuff I had never heard of,
There's a
or
lot of
is
quirky
a
things there usually,
first
yeah.
thing I've ever heard of. I do want to see some more of that 33 Immortals, I think is what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's in beta now or early access or something, so I know it's kind of out there, but I forget when the release date is. Maybe it's soon, but I am interested in that. Yeah, I can't see when it's coming out, but I'm sure he'll have some Kojima stuff, right? So we'll get to see whatever's going on with what's his game called for OD?
OD.
OD for Xbox, and then some more Death Stranding 2 stuff.
Do you think we're going to see either of those this summer? I mean, we
I think
saw
we'll see more of it, but I don't know that. Well, I don't know we're going to get dates or anything like that.
because we saw OD in December, but we didn't see Death
Well,
Stranding, correct? Well, we quote
we
unquote
saw
saw
Death
OD
Stranding 2, yes.
last year, right? Like
Was
last
it
Summer
last
Games
year?
Fest. It wasn't in at the Game
No, we
Awards,
just
was it?
saw it, right? Yeah, we
Was
just
it?
saw it.
Why did I think that it was just OD at the Game Awards and that Death Stranding
Was it
2
the
was Summer?
PlayStation event that we saw it?
Oh, maybe that's what it was. I can't keep all this stuff straight.
Yeah, I think it was the PlayStation event that we saw it. The one we saw at Games Fest was just like Jordan Peele
Yeah.
coming out.
Yeah.
But I know because we just saw the beach trailer in May. So a month ago today, we saw. Oh, that is today. Sorry, it was posted today. A month ago today. Today. We saw it recently. Why can't I find it? This is not good podcasting.
Or was it a year ago in May?
No, 20. It says May 2020. May. It's today's date. Yeah, it's a PlayStation event. We saw it. The State of Play.
Okay.
So we did see that there. Because it had Dakota Fanning, I remember.
Yeah.
Or Ella Fanning? Ella Fanning? One of the Fannings.
Yeah, one of the Fannings.
So yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see that. I'm really probably interested to see what Joseph Fares is doing next.
Yeah.
Because he knows what he's doing.
He does.
So I'm interested to see that. But I think for Jeff Keighley stuff, I'm just more tuning in for the surprises. I don't really have much on my radar. Do you have anything that you think he's going to show?
For me, I mean, the only things that I had down, and I part of it is I can't remember whether or not this actually is happening in the sense of I don't think EA is having a standalone anything, right? And as a result, unless they have a marketing deal somewhere that we don't know about yet, supposedly we're going to learn about Dragon Age Dreadwolf this summer. So
okay.
Supposedly.
I believe that when I see it.
Yeah. So, supposedly, this seems like the place to show it if they don't have a marketing deal with PlayStation or Xbox, right? So that seems like where we could probably see that. The other thing I put down that I would like to see, and I think this game has bounced around between the three, so I think that this might be a place to show it, is the release date for Plucky Squire.
Oh, yeah. Forgot about that game.
Yeah, so that's a game I would really, really like to see. And then the last thing that I had, which if we were recorded this yesterday, I would have said it, and then the rumor today would have dismissed it, was the Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake, which is supposedly coming out this year. But now that's been, the rumor is that that's going to be shown at the Nintendo Direct.
Okay.
Well, you know what? It is coming to everything, though. So
he could show, talking about topical news, because we just got the announcement of 2K FIFA.
That's true.
So he might be able to, if it's coming out this year, then that would be a good place to show it. Also, if we are going to get a Code Veronica remake, that would also be a good place to Resident Evil to show that.
So have you seen the Resident Evil rumors that were today?
Today, no.
So
it has already been shot down.
Well, no, but that they're being worked on. But I don't think that. Yes, it was confirmed those are being worked on, but I don't know release. They said that 9 got pushed back to end of 25, early 26, and that Veronica and Code Zero are both being worked on. But I don't think the timeline was given. As
Code Zero. Why are they making a remake? Why do they do that?
I don't know.
Why?
I don't know.
Come on.
So nothing else there. Like you, I usually like kind of finding out about the smaller or more like AA space, like kind of those, Focus Home Interactive, like those sorts of games.
Yeah.
So we'll see what else. I'm sure he'll have a number of those, but probably, a big hitter or two. So the one thing I was going to put out there as like the big like dream thing, especially with their announcement that they are going multi-platform, is like, do we see Kingdom Hearts 4? But
that would be wild.
But Square is not on like the initial banner of like groups. Now maybe he did that on purpose to like hide that announcement. But they had Final Fantasy stuff there previously, so I thought maybe supposedly that game is coming out next year.
Really?
So
wow.
Apparently we'll see, but that's kind of like their next big thing, that because really the only things I think are announced that Square is working on right now is that Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake, Dragon Quest 12, and Kingdom Hearts 4, I think is it. Like, I don't and then like expansions for like Final Fantasy 14, but I don't think anything else from them is announced. Like, that's it.
No Foam Stars 2?
Nope, no Foam Stars 2. Imagine that. It disappointed in sales. Who could have thought? Who would have thought? Do you have anything for Nintendo?
I mean, we need to see. We're going to see the Switch 2 announcement.
They said that it is not happening at this event.
They
confirmed
did?
that in their financials.
Wow.
We will hear about it, but not in June.
Didn't they just say though that it's going to come out next year?
Yeah, they basically confirmed
they're not going to show it in
but they're
June?
not showing it this summer. Yeah,
The biggest game. So, like, what are they going to even show?
I don't know.
Get these games that will run better on our next console.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, I don't. I mean, we're another 3D Mario, I guess. New Donkey Kong game.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
How do
one thing I will say, by disconnecting from social media as much as I have, I like the small amount of Nintendo knowledge that I used to just absorb by being like
yeah.
like around it just is gone. Like I have no idea what's going on with Nintendo at all. So we'll skip that then. Okay, Josh, what are you hoping from Xbox then?
Oh man. No, I don't know. I'm not hoping for anything. What I think we'll see is we'll see Fable finally.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see some gameplay, but it's not coming out this year. Um, I would like to see the next Forza Horizon game announced, but also won't come out until next year. Um, what else? What else? What else? The next Gears. I mean, we're overdue, right? For Forza, Gears. We're way overdue for Fable. They really have to win people back, so they're gonna have to announce something that people are gonna be like, how did Xbox get this game? I don't know what that's gonna be, but it's gonna have to be something where a large group of gamers are gonna be angry, but a small percentage will be very happy. And I'm sure we'll see Call of Duty stuff, but we just got a teaser today, I think.
Well, and they're doing like a Call of Duty Direct, like right after the Xbox one.
So they'll give us some Call of Duty stuff. I think it'll be more than one Call of Duty game that we'll see.
Oh, okay.
Because I think we're gonna see Black Ops 6, like for sure. So
Yep.
I think maybe we'll see like another remaster or remake or just a flat out like Call of Duty. What are we at now? 5?
Well, do you think it just is like, hey, all the Call of Duties are in Game Pass? Like,
Yeah,
is that the announcement?
I mean, they're definitely going to drop like 15 Activision Blizzard games on Game Pass. It'll be like available to starting right now.
Yeah.
So that will for sure happen. Because we know they've been waiting. They could have put them out when like a month ago. But I don't really know. I don't really know what they can do for me. Maybe they'll get the Dragon Age scoop if it's going to come out. Maybe they'll be the ones who get to announce it. Maybe that's where we'll see Dragon Age, or we'll get a clip of the new Mass Effect or something. I know that Mass Effect's like 26, right? It's a ways out.
Yeah, I think
maybe 27. So I don't know. I really, I just need them to show us games, which I say every year, and they never do. What are your thoughts on Xbox?
I think they do show a lot of games.
I mean, their games is what I meant. First party games.
Gotcha. Okay, I was like, they show a lot of games.
They show the most games, I would say. Yeah.
So from Xbox, here's the challenge always with Xbox is that, for better or for worse, when I do things like this, I feel like Xbox is often a kind of a leaky, civvy conference. Like, I feel like we know most of the stuff that's going to be there for the last couple of years before it's been there, right? And so one of the big things, like, I just want something unexpected, something that I'm like, I had no idea that was even a thing. And sometimes that happens with like indies and things like that. But getting a really big, like, oh, that is not a game I have heard of ever, or was not leaked ahead of time, or whatever, like, would be, I think, great. Yeah. So something there I think would be really good. Just some sort of surprise. Associated
we will
with
get
that,
Indiana Jones. Yeah, we will get that.
Yes.
But
that's not a surprise. But
at the first person Indiana Jones that nobody wanted or asked for.
Yeah. Oh, it's Machine Game, so I'll check it out. And kind of connected potentially to that, I would, a lot of people talked about, when Xbox was buying Activision Blizzard King, that this would give them the opportunity to like bring back all these dormant IP, and then it became pretty evident that no, they're going to just keep making Call of Duty. That's what they're going to keep doing. Yeah. But I do hope that we get an announcement for some retro Activision IP gets a game. Even if it's super early, and maybe this is also that surprise, but just that they are, reaching back in to kind of dig some things out. I know, again, trying to like exclude all the rumors that we've heard about them reaching back into like their 360 JRPG catalog, which is very exciting. I do hope we get some news just about an Activision IP, which is obviously this is something separate. And then the other thing that one thing you may have noticed I have not talked about in the last couple of months, as I've not continued my Gears of War continuation or playthrough, because it really sounds like maybe this is coming to PS5 in the form of a collection, and if it is, that's where I would like to play it. So I've kind of put things on hold with that until after this conference, just to see
if they put the Gears of War collection on the PlayStation. You just bury your Xbox in a hole. Everybody listening, just do that, please.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's kind of where I am at from an Xbox standpoint. I just want something surprising, and a retro Activision IP coming back. And then, like I said, maybe not that it has to happen, but I just want to know whether or not I should continue playing Gears of War 2 on my Xbox or not. That's really the big thing I want to know.
Is that a real rumor that you've heard?
There is, the rumor of a Gears of War collection, yes. My assumption then, especially with Project Latitude, and the fact that they now have said Doom is launching day and date on PlayStation 5, like, these are things that make me wonder, like, if you are going to make this collection, and if you are truly opening things up, like, what better way? I mean, Josh, if you are Xbox, how many copies of that do you think would sell on PlayStation?
Listen, I told you I was depressed all month. I cannot handle it. I cannot handle this.
Again, the PlayStation, that collection rumor has been forever. That coming to PS5. Nah, I mean, people say it, but I don't know that there's any like substantiated rumor about that part. For me, it's more of like, well, if they truly are entertaining every option, it seems like that would be an excellent thing that you'd want to put on.
No, I know. I'm mostly joking.
I know, but yeah. So, okay. Well, then let's wrap up, Josh, with PlayStation. Anything? Most recent rumor, again, who knows, is that it's going to be a state of play now and a showcase in September.
Okay, that makes sense for them.
But who knows? That's, again, who knows? This is what people have said. But anything, and there's been a ton of rumors about things coming out, that are going to be announced in the next 15 days. Anything you're hoping to see, wanting to see?
Well, first, I want to throw one more thing on the Xbox One. I think they end with Baldur's Gate 3 coming to Game Pass.
Oh, okay. That'd be cool.
Everyone already has it. Everyone's played it. Larian's not making a ton of more money from it.
Sure.
Microsoft pays them a fortune. Here it is, Game Pass. PC Game Pass, Xbox Game Pass. PlayStation, I can't get the thought of this Spider-Man multiplayer game out of my head. Ever since I saw videos of people playing the beta. I really hope that this feedback got back to them, and then they were like, "Hey, we secretly brought it back."
Yeah.
Because it looks so cool.
It did look cool.
But you know what? I would like to see either some DLC for Spider-Man 2 or kind of like a Miles Morales standalone game announced.
Oh, the much rumored Venom game.
Oh, is that? Yeah,
that's the rumor.
Heard that.
According to the leak, that's what it's supposed to be.
That would be cool. I would like to see more in the Spider-Man universe. I mean, there's still so much going on from Spider-Man 1, and we have Black Cat still hanging out in Paris or wherever she ended up, and there's a lot going on there.
Absolutely.
So I would like to see that. What do I want? We don't need to see more Horizon yet. I think we can take a little break from Horizon, I think.
But what about the one Horizon, Josh?
The Lego one?
Yeah.
I have no idea how that's going to be a thing. So I guess I'm curious what it's going to look like.
What I'm wondering, and I don't know if this is true, but remember when there was those rumors, or maybe you don't know, of a remake of or remaster of the original Horizon?
The first one, yeah.
Well, I wonder if this is that.
I don't...
Or if people conflated, like, hey, we're like remaking Horizon, but it's because it's a Lego game?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So
here.
I know people love Lego games. I'm just not one of those people. I've never really gotten into the Lego games. So for me, this isn't exciting, even with my how much I love Horizon. I mean, I would still get it, but
Hmm.
I probably wouldn't play it to the extent that most people will. So I'm really curious to see if it is just truly like Lego Indiana Jones but Horizon.
Hmm.
Um, so I mean, it could be cool to like, you know, when you instead of killing a Thunderjaw, it breaks into a bunch of tiny little Lego pieces. I
Yeah,
guess it could be
that seems
fun.
cool.
Maybe if it gets me more Horizon physical Legos, I'm all on board.
I agree with that.
I would like that.
I would like that too.
Yeah. So if that's what I have to deal with to get that, then we can do that. Otherwise, PlayStation also always surprises me. I know you're more in the know on PlayStation games coming out and stuff. So I know we're not going to see a Last of Us Part 3. I know they canceled that game that you guys were all hoping for Last of Us, right? Did they
Oh
cancel
yeah.
Higher
Yep.
Grounds or whatever it was called? The shooter game. Shoot 'em up. I sound like my dad now. That shooter game,
That
that
shooter video
Last of
game.
Us shooter game. I would like to see another surprise game, kind of like a Days Gone or like one of those,
Hmm.
original PlayStation original games. But I don't know. What you tell me? What do I have to look forward to from PlayStation?
All right, Josh. So I will say that when I wrote this, I was under the assumption, or I was thinking of my mind in a showcase perspective, not a state of
Yeah,
play. So, but I wrote down a couple notes. The first one was things that I have basically been confirmed, but like I would have been on my list anyway. That is the Lego Horizon, whatever it is, because I do love Horizon and I love Lego games, so I'm all in on that no matter what it is for the most part. And the much rumored now new Astrobot game. Like those
yeah,
two things I'm totally in on. Love everything Astrobot, whether this VR game or the little, demo that launched with the PlayStation 5, both great. All in on a new Astrobot, totally down with that. And again, Legos, I'm totally in. I think again, this is a couple of these are really deep. We'll see. Again, don't think I'm ridiculous because again, I was thinking showcase, not state of play. I think it's time we see our new Uncharted game.
okay.
I could see that launching next year. This thing has been rumored in development forever.
Who's our
Uh,
protagonist?
Spoilers for the end of Uncharted 4.
Child?
Cassie Drake. Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
But I do think that if that game is actually a thing, I think we have to see it soon.
Yeah.
I really, really do. And especially, like, I think ideally, with the PlayStation 5 Pro releasing this fall, theoretically, I think they probably wanted it to launch with that. And I think the game's just not going to make that. They've said
Sure.
that there's no, like, big PlayStation, like, storied franchise game coming out in the next fiscal year, which means it's not coming out this year. But I think that probably was what the aim was. And they just are going to miss that. But that doesn't mean that we don't tell you about it so that you get excited about it so that you buy this PlayStation 5 Pro anyway.
Right.
So I think if that game exists, it's time to see it. The other two things that I'm going to say then, one's a deeper cut. One is just because I think it's time. It's supposed to come out this year. One is actually a really deep cut of a game that was showed back originally in like 2017 or 2018 from Cygames, and that's Project Awakening. It was a RPG Monster Hunter-ish game that end of last year, early this year, they said they were still working on it. They in their like slate of
Oh
things
yeah,
they're
yeah,
working
yeah, yeah.
on. That game was still listed, and it's supposedly a PS4, PS5 exclusive. So if that game really is still in development, and it kind of had been quiet about it for a few years, but then, like I said, Cygames recently announced that they were still working on it. So I think if they have announced that they're still working on it, that might mean we might be seeing it again soon. So again, who knows what it is? Who knows if it's any good? The original trailer was super interesting, but we'll have to wait and see. So that's one thing that maybe it's time for that to resurface if it is truly still being worked on. The other thing, then, I think, especially building off of the success of Stellar Blade. Again, I'm not saying this is the exact same thing because obviously that's the South Korean team, but as part of their China, I think it was China Hero project, one of the games that PlayStation was supporting that is supposed to come out this year is Lost Soul Aside. And this game is a stylish action RPG that, like, Asian protagonist who's doing super cool stuff with a sword, like, if trying to build on like that momentum that we had from Stellar Blade, obviously very different games, but I think they're just like looking at this like, hey, we have this game that is developed elsewhere that is, has the stylish combat and action that seems like it might be a character action game supposed to be coming out this year at some point. I think that could be another thing that we see soon, because that game is supposed to launch sometime in 2024 in theory. So I think Lost Soul aside then would be the other thing that I would say I think we might be ready to see again. So that's it for me. Like I said, kind of that Astrobot and Horizon stuff. If this Uncharted game exists, it's time to see it. Project Awakening and Lost Soul aside, I think are what might be on the docket for PlayStation. So cool. All right, Josh. Well, with that, should we wrap this show up?
I think we should do that, yes.
Awesome. Well, hey, it is time for us to give you our recommendations for a well-rounded life. We're obviously a gaming podcast, but we want to give you one recommendation, suggestion, or thing we are currently into as helping us live that well-rounded life. Josh, what is your recommendation for the folks this month?
So, this movie is a couple months old, I believe. I forget when it came out. But it is a movie called Self-Reliance. It is a Hulu original, I think. But it is on Hulu now. And it stars Jake Johnson and Anna Kendrick. And it is about Jake Johnson is walking down the street and a limo pulls up, and inside of it is Andy Samberg playing Andy Samberg as himself. And if you've ever seen the movie The Game with Michael Douglas, it's kind of essentially similar to that. He tells Jake Johnson's character, like, hey, if you want to do this thing, you get like a crazy amount of money. But if you say yes, basically, we're going to have a bunch of people try to kill you. And if you win, if you survive, you get the money. And the catch is they will not kill you if you're with someone at all times. So it's a comedy, silly comedy, because, Andy Samberg is involved and Jake Johnson from New Girl, very funny. But yeah, essentially it's like he can't poop by himself because he could get killed. He could be assassinated. He can't sleep by himself. So trying to figure out the hijinks on how that might work out logistically, makes for a funny premise, and it's a enjoyable watch. So I say check it out. Self-Reliance on Hulu, starring Jake Johnson. All
right. Well, hey, since you did the Andy Samberg thing, I guess I'm going to do the Andy Samberg thing.
Hey, what do you know?
And, I'm sometimes behind on comedy television series, but, it was time for me to finally catch up on one that had been recommended to me numerous times. And that is the old Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which I am now watching. I am watching it on Peacock. I think it's on Netflix, but I think it's only like 4 seasons on Netflix, and the rest of it you have to watch on Peacock, I think.
Had you not seen it before?
I've never watched Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Oh, really?
Before. Yeah, I've never seen it before. So I was just trying to look for something a little, light, easy breezy. Transparently, it took me a little bit to get into it. I was not digging it initially, but I really enjoy it now. So I think I'm on season 4, if I recall, because I just watched the 4th Halloween episode. So which the Halloween episodes are amazing, but I'm really enjoying the show. So if you're looking for like an easy breezy comedy that you can mostly pay attention to and still be fine, like if you're doing something and it's on, like you're really not gonna like miss out on much, I am enjoying it much more than I ever thought I would. And I don't know why I never watched it before, because I think I always am like, oh, I don't really like Andy Samberg is like what I think in my head, but like Popstar Never Stop Never Stopping is like, I think super underrated. I think that movie's
so good.
And Palm Springs is amazing. So like I don't know why I think I don't like him. Like I don't know where that comes from. But because I do enjoy many of the things that he has done.
I realize why there's only 4 seasons on Netflix.
Why is that?
Because Fox canceled it and then NBC revived.
Oh, that makes sense then. That makes sense.
So you got the Fox seasons on Netflix, and the Peacock they must have them all on Peacock there, right?
Yes, because all 7 seasons are on Peacock. Yep. Cool. All right. Well, hey, so that's my recommendation. If you're looking for an easy breezy comedy, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, 4 seasons on Netflix, the whole thing on Peacock. But with that, Josh, what do you say we wrap this up?
Let's do that. Thanks for joining us, everyone. In addition to finding us on X and Instagram at Board3G, you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Board3G. So feel free to give us a 5-star rating over there. Also, if you want to communicate with us in the more long form, or you're just not feeling social media, you can email us at boardwithvg@gmail.com. When we post, if we post, we do try to use hashtag boardwithvg, so please feel free to do the same thing so we can see what you're up to. And whatever podcast service you're listening to us on, we encourage you to give us a stellar rating. That is, whether you're downloading us from the Dice Tower network feed or our very own standalone Board with Video Games feed. You can find me on the things at Why So Serious. That's SIRRIUS. Kyle, where can people find you?
So you can find me on all the usual places, Twitter /X, Instagram, PlayStation Network, Xbox Live, Board Game Geek, all at Psychocross, CYCOCROSS. Though, like I said, I am very, very rarely on social media anymore. But you're welcome to message me there, and then I would probably respond because I still get notified when people message me. As always, if you have suggestions for future topics, be sure to reach out to us on one of those social medias or via email because we want to talk about what you want to hear about. And remember, everyone, whether it be board games or video games, never stop gaming.